Good morning. This is Brenda Combs and Denny Paul May coming to you live from the Holler at KVEC here in Hazard. And today we'll be talking about the second in our series of discussions on the IEP guidance document. And in this second of our series, we will be talking about the measurable annual goals and what it is to get those so that they are in fact measurable. And we'll be going through I think pages 40 through 44 in your IEP guidance document. If you want to follow along with that, certainly that would be something good for you to maybe have at your access and at your hands as you follow along today with us. So Brenda's going to talk to you about the measurable annual goal and what that is.
Okay, when you're looking at your measurable annual goal, what we're looking at is we're looking at the statements, and we've got to look back into your present levels to make sure that it follows along with what goal you're going to be writing. So make sure that your present levels have got the information that you need to start writing your measurable annual goals. All they are is statements of anticipated results for a student to achieve within one calendar year. And remember, only one calendar year, so please don't have 7 or 8 goals, because we have to be able to make sure we can progress monitor these goals and do a good job within 1 year. You can also do that a little bit earlier in case a child does master a goal, but normally it's one calendar year. They're written to restate the content standards, so we have to go back into your standards, your reading standards, your math standards. But we also need to specify the skills or what strategies that we plan on using for the curriculum. The goals, they should be designed to meet the needs resulting from the student's disability in order to make progress in that general education curriculum. The goals must be appropriately ambitious in light of the student's circumstance and consider the student's potential for growth. These goals must also involve should not be copying and pasting the reading or math standards. So we can't copy and paste. And Denny Paul will talk about that with you a little bit later, but we can't do that. That's a no-no, so don't be doing those types of things. The IEP is not intended to reflect the student's entire curriculum. There's no way we can do that. That is just too much to try to do. So we focus on the prioritizing of the student's needs. There are some steps in writing the baseline goals, and the first one that we do is identify the baseline data for the area of need in the present level. So that's already written for you. You've already got through that part. So now we're looking at that baseline data, and we're going to start writing our goals from that at that point. The next thing is we're going to start prioritizing what skills do we need to have, the ones that are the most powerful, the ones that we need to start first. It's going to demonstrate some progress. The third factor here is to write measurable annual goals to address that prioritizing of those needs. And those are what we always say, those are those A through F components. And Denny Paul is going to go through 3 of those, and then I'll go through the other 3.
Okay, so going back just a little bit, just talking about copying and pasting, that's certainly something that we want to stay away from. If you have heard a discussion of the Andrew case, the Andrew F case that came along in 2017, one of the clear-cut problems that they had with the Andrew case was the fact that the child that was the subject of the IEP had the same IEP goals year after year after year for like 4 or 5 years. And so one of the things that we don't want to fall victim to is just copying and pasting those goals and those present levels from year to year. Even though the child may be making just some progress, it is our intention to then go back to the ARC process and then make sure that we are determining whether or not the goal that we're writing is in fact measurable, and that we can prove that we have provided the child with the access to the curriculum, and so that we're providing a free, appropriate public education. And so within the Andrew case, the problem they had were they were just continuing with the same goal. We want to go back and revisit and try to prioritize what skills are going to bring you closer to grade level performance within that 365-day time limit that we have for an IEP, because the IEP cycle lasts for a year. And one way to clearly do that is to make sure that we have well-written, measurable annual goals, and that we have prioritized skills and not just regurgitated the standards or copied and pasted the standards back into our goals. So when we talk about the steps for writing, the third step, that, like Brenda said, is that we're going to write these goals in such a way that's going to follow this A through F sequence. And the first part of that, the A, is the audience. And the audience would be, of course, the student's name. And that's real easy to get. So we should make sure that we always get that one correct, and they shouldn't have a problem with that. And then, of course, then the behavior is the actual action that is actually measurable and works along with the measurable tool that you select in the method of measurement, so that you can say, yes, we have made progress. And then the circumstance is the C part of the IEP development of the goal is a cue or a direction that you would be given, or setting up a situation in where the behavior actually can be measured. So an example of that might be in the classroom, given a certain number of problems, seated at the circle time table with a flat surface, those types of circumstances that actually set the goal up for measurement and set the behavior up so that we can view it and we can measure it and do what we say we're going to do with the goal. So Brenda's going to talk to you now about 3 through 6.
Okay, so what I've got is the degree or the criterion, which is the D section in those components that we were talking about. And what we're looking at with a degree is a description of the expected minimum level of access within that 12 months. And also how consistently the student must perform the skill. So if we want some examples, 92% accuracy for 3 consecutive opportunities, 18 out of 20 correct for 4 consecutive probes, or a score of 3 on a 5-point rubric for a written assessment. Those would be examples. Of course, that's not an exhaustive list. There's many more. Then you go to the E, which is the evaluation, method of measurements. Here is where we need to make sure, and we call this the specific tool when we're looking at that, of the method of measurement. We know that the method of measurement has the drop-down box that has the 4 components. All 4, we've got curriculum-based measure, direct measurement, indirect measurement, and authentic assessment. So we know we have those drop-down boxes, but those aren't the words that we want to put into the goal. We want to use specific words, such as a scoring rubric or a checklist, or oral reading fluency or probes. Those types of things is what we want to see for the evaluation piece when you're writing the goal, and not using the words that are in that drop-down box. And there is an appendix in the IEP guidance document that has some of the tools that I'm talking about, specific tools for the methods of measurement. So you might want to reflect back to that and to look at some of the things that you can use. The F section that's in there is the last section. It's the frequency of data collection. We know that we have to collect data, so it's telling us how often the implementer will collect the data on the measurable annual goal. Is it going to be daily? Is it going to be weekly? Is it going to be twice a week? Those are just examples of that. And we no longer use the word bi-weekly, bi-monthly. We don't use anything that's got bi with it because we have, it means 2 different things. When you look at biweekly, is it going to be twice a week? So we need to just, or twice a month. So we just need to know what it is. So we want to be specific about it. So if it's going to be once weekly, twice weekly, if it's going to be twice a month, make sure that you specify that when you're writing your annual goals. So when you're looking at this, the whole picture, A through F, when given 20 content related vocabulary words, that would be a circumstance because you're giving that child that many words, 20 content vocabulary words. Then you have Mary, that's going to be your audience, and the behavior is going to be will orally define. And then your degree is going to be 18 out of 20 words correctly. And then you're looking at, again, the degree would be for 4 consecutive probes. And I caution you when you're using consecutive because we've got to look at the student to see can they perform those 4 consecutive probes. Or, we have to make sure we put the right piece in there for that child. It may be the child needs 2 out of 4 probes. That gives a child 2 times out of 4 trials to get that probe. And then as measured by your frequency will be weekly, and then of course your evaluation method is going to be a checklist. So putting that together, when given 20 content related vocabulary words, Mary will orally define 18 out of 20 words correctly for 4 consecutive probes as measured by weekly checklist. So those are our A through F components. And we hope that you can look at your IEP guidance document, and if you need any assistance, you can contact me or Denny Paul, either one, and let us know about any kind of help you need, and we will help you in any way that we can.
So, in recapping what we've talked about today, the Andrea F case has clearly shown that we need to stay away from copying and pasting the standards. We also understand that the steps for writing the measurable annual goals from the present levels of performance follow the skill deficits that we've identified, and that we choose and prioritize the skills that we think are going to best get us to grade level performance the quickest over the next 365 days. And certainly when we go into looking at writing these goals, one of the things that we really, really want to make sure that we emphasize is that we understand the tools that we're choosing under the method of measurement, and that the tools that we're choosing under the method of measurement will in fact measure the verb or the skill that we're looking to measure. And so it's very important that you understand all of those methods of measurements, which method of measurement, which specific tool goes under curriculum based, which one goes under direct, which one goes under indirect, which one goes with authentic, and also understanding that authentic cannot stand alone, and you'll have to have some other data that goes along with those authentic assessments to support your progress monitoring. When you look at the frequency of data collection, that was an issue. If you jump through A, B, C, D, E, and F, the frequency of data collection should always match whatever you put on your progress monitoring graph. So we're looking for those kinds of things when we come out and look in your districts, and we're reviewing folders. We're making sure that all 6 components are there, and not only are all 6 components there, but we're also looking to see if in fact the goal that we've written, you may have all 6 components, and you may be able to say, well, I've got all 6 components, but will that goal and the tool that you've selected in fact measure what you're setting out to measure? And so that's a big part of making sure that we're getting not only skills identified in present level, but that we're also choosing the tool that will measure those skills, and that we can definitively say we're providing FAPE to the students with disabilities, because that's our charge in every district with every student every day. And we really appreciate your time. As we move forward, looking to our next in this series, we're going to be looking at those methods of measurement, those tools, and we'll have some information regarding that from the IEP guidance document that will hopefully help you get on the right track. And I know many of you are on the right track, but we'll just continue to support you with that, and we'll get this job done in getting good, measurable IEPs developed for our students with disabilities. We thank you very much for your time, and we'll see you soon.